What? $5:45, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Virgin Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. Closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship Chippewas have with lands and waters of its territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. Further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized in Treaty Number 13, as well as the Ordinance Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage of centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today to help us work together into the future. The motion to approve the agenda. So these, Councilor Thompson, any questions, all in favor, opposed, that carries. Any declarations of community interest? Seeing none. 5.1, Finance Advisory Committee meeting minutes 12/23. Somebody approve to receive those for information. Thompson, Councilor Reese, any comments on those minutes? None, all in favor, opposed, that carries. No delegations. We have two items discussed. 7.1, financial management. Memorandum from Financial Management Advisor regarding budget review of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. Would like to.
I can introduce it. So we have our community partners here from the Aurora Sport Hall of Fame. So this evening we'll be going through their financials, an opportunity for finance advisory to ask any questions, to learn more about the organization, and turn over to Javed.
Thank you. I just have a brief opening comment, just so we can lay out the foundation of our conversation tonight. So my name is Javed Khan. I'm the current president and chair of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame, and also a resident of this great community for the last 20 years. And accompanied to my right with Brian Roberts, and to my left, Kristen Desjardins, who is the chair of the Education Committee. Tonight, our aim is really to discuss the financial aspects of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame and shed light on the investments we've made to support various community events throughout the year. We've participated in multiple events throughout 2022 and previously. Those included the Aurora Chamber of Commerce events, Aurora Farmers Market and Artisan Fair. And we outlined a very great detail amount during our presentation to Town Council many weeks ago. But as you all know, these events do involve investment of not only time, but in dollars and investments. And that's what you're going to go see through Brian's presentation tonight. And all of these events are very crucial for our awareness of our brand and our community engagement. And the financial support that we get from the town of Aurora really helps greatly, not only in our day-to-day operations, but also in other events that we are participating in. For you all in the round table who may not know this organization, we are all fully run by volunteers. We have close to 40 volunteers and growing. We do not have a staff person at all. So the operations and the financial numbers you're going to see is just, keep in mind, it's all volunteer driven. It's not, we don't have a professional services staff. But also, before I hand the mic over to Brian, I do want to highlight one important event, recent event and decision that was made by the Board of Governors of the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame. I was not in attendance. I was away. I just got back on Saturday. But last week at the board meeting and the executive committee meeting prior, the Board of Governors did approve on the recommendation of the executive committee for us to move forward in having our annual financial statements audited. This decision aligns with our commitment to show leadership as a cultural partner of the town of Aurora. However, through the process so far, we've understood and realized that there is going to be an increase in costs ranging from $7,000 to $9,000 for the first year, and prompted us to reevaluate a number of things. Also want you to note that prior to our recent conversations, the Aurora Sports Hall of Fame has always had unaudited financial statements. That was always the approach from day one of this organization, which is 7 years ago. And the increased administrative costs might lead us to revise our grant request to the town of Aurora. We do, however, believe as an organization that a clear town policy on when cultural partners require audited financial statements would be beneficial. If the council decides on auditing, we are prepared to comply and hope for consistent treatment of similar organizations. With that said, I'll hand the mic over to Brian to go through the numbers.
Okay, thanks for meeting with us today. When we were originally asked, we would ask for 2022 and 2021 financial statements, and those were sent out, I guess through Jason. And so the financials, as you know, always kind of combine a bunch of numbers. And so we thought it would be best if we sent the groupings to come up with those financial numbers. So there's two documents you have in front of you. Some have it electronically, some have it in front of them. But it's the financial statements and as well as the lead sheets, as we call it in the accounting world. And so I'll start with I think the profit and loss. And I guess the way I kind of like to run the meeting is if you guys have questions as we go along, just ask them, because so it's not so formal and we just kind of can go along through it. So with that being said, we'll turn to the page 4 of the financial statements, and then as well the related document 6.14. You'll see the related numbers. And so as we see the top with the town of Aurora funding, we've always outlined that at the top of the statement, and the 29.9 in 2022 and the 29.3 in 2021. The next line where it says induction celebration, that is basically made up of ticket sales. I mean, our accountant always just tries to bulk things together, but that's essentially ticket sales for the organization. The next line item is Cornerstone. Now, Cornerstone is kind of our fundraising avenue of our organization, which does they go out and get our sponsors and they run our auctions and whatnot and stuff like that. So that's all our sponsorships. And then web and communication, that we had started buying promotional items and reselling them. So that's kind of another revenue stream for us, if you will. So that's all in the revenue for the both years. Does anybody have any questions on the revenue to start? Okay, so we'll move on to expenses. So induction celebration, there's a breakdown of all the expenses and you know, I'll go through these as best I can. It ends up being 742 for the total of that. So we go through our speaker fees. We try to keep them in line with the prior year, although you'll notice between 2021 and 2022, our costs did go up pretty much double in most cases, because our induction celebration was double in size. 2021 was obviously our first year back, and we had a difficult time selling tickets that year. So as we go through the costs, speaker fee, induction video, event signage. In some cases, there wasn't any one year, and what was in other years. Advertising, dinner cost. That's specifically that large item is the Venetian. That is the cost for the hall, the food, and the alcohol. Facility decorations. In some cases, there was some. In some cases, they were just donated, or we reused them from last year. AV rental, induction, keeper plaques, copywriting, program design and editing. So like I said, over the years, they're up and down. Now, our one notable item, our printing costs for our program was up significant from 2021. And that goes over. And then, yeah, so the greets. 1 year, I don't think we had any costs, or somebody donated it. This year, we had to pay the cost of it. And then dinner item, other items is just miscellaneous that goes throughout that to provide that function. So that's all induction celebration, administration, and management. That is item number 741. And so, as you'll notice, as Javid had alluded to, we did used to have an administrative assistant, which if you look in 2021, it was $8,600. In 2022, we decided to make a decision in January and end that position, saving us quite a bit of money. And then moving more towards a full volunteer board and administration. Dinner management, that is our person we hire to run the, it's not really dinner management, it should be event management. They run the event for the induction from the night before and the night of the induction celebration. And then other things in there are fees and memberships, that's insurance, our accounting and legal. We've gotten it down as low as we're ever going to get it. It sounds like it's going to go up quite a bit astronomically in the future. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Board development, we did have a strategic session, which had printing costs and then some other board government support, stationery, and in our storage. We kind of got that under control because storage fees, as you know, were going up astronomically. And so that's all for the admin cost of it. Now, web and communication, that is under item number 745. So website hosting and updates, software costs, marketing material and brochures. There's a banner in there, letterhead, artwork that we paid for. Promotional items, as I said, we started reselling promotional items. So those were items we bought to resell. Advertising, Christmas cards, and then communication other that we had hired in 2022. There was a guy we hired to do our social media, and he was there for most of the year, and then we've actually terminated that position as well. Grant and foundation acquisitions, that was, we chose to put some money towards sending out a bunch of grant applications, and we were successful in that, in getting a grant for a website redesign that came to fruition in 2022. And the rest, other events. So when we go to a street sale, chamber events or other events in town, we do cover some of the cost of that. And so that's that. And nomination and education, there's not too much there. We didn't have, in 2022, we didn't have much for the any artifacts, but we did in 2020. So overall, in terms of our profit and loss, we had $2,904 income in 2022 and $12,939 in 2021. The reason why 2021 was probably more successful is because we had dialed everything back and didn't spend much. Well, we couldn't spend much because of COVID. And that's pretty much our profit and loss. Does anybody have any questions? We'll move on to the balance sheet. So our cash is made up of an operating account of, in 2022, $49,261. And we have an operating in our reserve fund that has been there for a number of years of $75,560. And then because we belong to Pace Credit Union, or now it's called Alterna, they have some shares that they give us for $12.59. So that's our cash. Now the cash is a little bit ahead of last year because we hadn't paid, all the bills came in for a reason. I got large bills in January last year in 2023. So our cash position looked higher than it actually was. As you can see down below, for our accounts payable and accrued liabilities was quite a bit higher. It's $27,911. And so other things, we had $1,800 going on our receivable, which we did collect. Sometimes people are slower when they give sponsorships, and then taxes receivable is our HST refund. And so our accounts payable, said, is basically made up of a bunch of accounts payable that came in late, accounting accrual, and some other miscellaneous costs, which leads us to our reserve. As I've spelled out, that we have $75,000 in an account we do not touch. And then the unrestricted is just the difference in that 30,583, which is to run the organization. We get it started for next year. So sorry, the reserve of 75,000 sits in a GIC essentially, and then the difference, the 30,583 is sitting basically what's left over after everything's paid for. So, and that's our balance sheet. And does anybody have any questions?
So when I looked at your 2021 balance sheet versus the 2022 balance sheet, I did notice that you just changed in terms of how you present it. So in 2022, you have the reserve and then the unrestricted fund. Prior year, you just had it listed.
So we went back to, I think we talked about, I can't remember exactly what year. There was always, we were advised, from what I understand is before my time, we were advised to have about 75,000 locked away. And so it's sitting there locked away in a GIC. And so the idea is not to touch that unless there's an absolute catastrophe. A perfect example of how that might have happened is, and I still think of how broad our shoulders were in 2021 when we decided to have an induction celebration. And I don't know if you remember, that was the time where they were saying, okay, you're open, you're closed, you're open, you're closed, you're open, you're closed. And the board said, okay, we're doing this. And I was just hoping we'd get through it before they closed us. And if they had pulled the plug right at the nth hour, I don't know if we would have paid it all back. So that's kind of, that's our financial statements in a nutshell. I know, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I know there was comments about our reserve. Essentially our reserve is not 134,000. It is all our assets less all our liabilities. And so it's approximately about 106,000 if we close the doors as at December 31st. We have maintained that I think that I do a number of not-for-profits, and I don't think that we're anywhere overfunded. I think we're funded just enough that I feel comfortable. I think the town should feel comfortable, and we don't spend on frivolous things that waste money. We're getting to the point where we probably should hire someone. I don't know. Our board works really hard. So.
I appreciate the detail, because sometimes the stuff doesn't necessarily match that stuff.
No, I understand.
So you said dinner management, so you hire somebody to do it's an event management?
That's right.
That's what you said?
Yeah, it's one person. It's our company.
Right.
Last year, well, I shouldn't say that. Other years it was one person. This year we had to do a two-stage person.
So what other people would you hire? Just as contractors or people that you pay to do various things?
I think what we used to have an executive director that would prepare our minutes, get our meetings scheduled, and do all anything in behind the scenes. Right now, Javid's it's fallen on his shoulders, and everybody's kind of just we've made do with it. We haven't really talked about maybe getting some help, because everybody, as you know, when you're stretched thin and everybody's got a busy lifestyle. I know myself. We put a lot of hours in to try and make this organization better and better, and I think we've done very well in the community.
These are 2022 though, so they're a year old, right? So, and your 2023s are due when? Like, do you have those ready to go sometime?
Well, that's the thing. We're waiting to get. That's what we were talking about, is for an audit as well. So we're ready to say, okay, we send them to our auditor, which we went and got 3 quotes, or do we keep with the way we've had them? I don't know if there's any discussion on the table about. As far as I understand, there's no mandate to have them audited, but we're not opposed to doing it.
Sweet. Yeah, I think you're tasked with a motion that the mayor had to take a look at reserve funds and relationships of reserve funds and best practices. And we also talked at that point about, could you also look at the policies around whether someone does or does not need a audited statement. So are you
So,
moving close to that, or how, I hate to put you on the spot, but
so through you, Mr. Chair, we are working on the policy, so it's in development right now. We've got someone working on that. I did a little bit of research on some requirements for an audit. Generally, requirements for an audit are required for large corporations that have shareholder investors. They're generally required if you need something from the bank. So if you need a loan, you need audited statements. A lot of small businesses, small organizations, they don't have audited statements, but they do have a professional accountant prepare their statements. So the big difference is they're not providing an audit opinion, which is often what the bank requires, but they are still bound by the same professional conduct and professional ethics that would be required as for an auditor. And they are typically accountants that do provide audits and have are trained auditors. So like, for example, myself, I'm not an auditor, I can't. But we have ones that have been trained through the accounting firms that are trained in audit. So it's a significant expense. It, as mentioned by Chad, I think it could be between $7,000 and $9,000. It would have a significant impact on such a small organization.
I know we had that question with the BIA and the demands for the BIA to have an audited
Yeah.
statement, and it was exorbitantly expensive for the number of invoices and things that they had. So, but that's through the municipal act, correct?
Correct. That's legislated through the municipal act. We don't have a choice there.
And through you, again, I think I know the answer, but I'll ask. We have audited statements for the ACC, for the library, for the BIA, for our other cultural partners. Is that a requirement of that? Do we do that?
Except for historical societies.
So I'm not sure about
In the Historical Society.
But the library is actually part of our audit because our financial statements are a consolidation, including the town and the library. So our auditors does the libraries as well. My understanding, the ACC does get audited, but they are a larger organization. And they may have other requirements for grants they apply to, or if they're dealing with their bank, the requirements under that. Some grants for larger grants requires audited statements.
Yeah, that's my experience with grantors is there's some that require the audited statements and some don't. And then when you get to the reserve, they often won't even make you eligible if you have a certain amount, a certain percentage of your deficit that's in reserve. So that's kind of what you're looking at now. So I'll leave it. Do it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for the reports. I appreciate the transparency of it. Addition of ledger. So you can see the itemized expenditures, revenues as they came in. I think that for myself, I look forward to getting the reports. I do think that we need to have some sort of policy now. But also around financial statements. I think so that I'm comfortable with seeing somebody standards. To me, it's a document that I feel that I can trust it, and I'm familiar with it dealing with a lot of small businesses, pharmacy world as well. But I do think that as this develops that policy, and maybe we do have a threshold where there is a number associated because I was reflecting on the fact that we don't only provide Sports Hall of Fame and ACC, but we provide community partnership grants. And if you look at it last year, there were a couple of organizations that got $10,000 or $9,000. It doesn't make sense to say to them, hey, we're going to give you a grant for $9,000 or $10,000, and then we also want you to preserve audited statements that kind of expenses too, because it places some degree of an unreasonable burden upon those organizations. I think but rather than making a judgment call, it's nice if that whenever you develop that policy and bring it forward that kind of outlines it. With regards to your current state of affairs, my personal opinion is, until the policy tells you the mandate to bring financial statements and spend that money, I wouldn't be going up and doing it. If you came to council and presented a similar document with this in budget time to myself, I'd be comfortable with that because I feel that, you know, this is what I would be looking for to validate your revenue, your expenditures and spending. So to me, I'm comfortable. And probably by that time we would have policy. So however it states.
Yeah, I concur with that. I don't think that there needs to be anything done now for the 2022 budget that's well in the rearview mirror, but it could be considered for 2023, but I'm not, I don't even, doesn't even matter to me right at the moment. I'd be happy to get detailed financial statements for 2023, and then we can look at what policies get put together with respect to reserve and auditing and any other kinds of financial stuff for 2024.
Just as a comment, in the accounting world, generally for a not-for-profit, the threshold is about 250,000 gross revenue before you're required to have an audit. And to also give you a little more, I am a licensed public accountant, so I'm doing most of the work, and Sandra Fawcett is signing off on the financials. So it's two sets of eyes already. Everything is dual signature, so we go through two sets of hands before anything gets paid.
The other thing, though, you do have charitable status. Are there any things that you have to do vis-a-vis a charitable status that's different than if you were not for profit?
Just the T3010
Yeah.
Charitable.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Recommendation.
Well, the comments have been received, have they? I recommend it to receive the report. Sure.
Steve and finance side. Comments regarding.
Right.
Reviewing.
Both of those.
And received and for
Yep.
staff.
So moved.
Favor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drive safe. You too. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not changing.
Thank you as well. Thank you. All right, second item, memo from project management office regarding use for service delivery review update. I'm assuming you're gonna go, looks like it's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So general municipal service delivery review update that we received for information. Bit of background. So in 2021, Town of Aurora initiated a municipal service delivery review. It was conducted by Strategy Corp, which is a very reputable firm, management consulting firm specialized in municipal governance. They're reviewing to assess all town services, ranging from infrastructure and public safety to administrative processes, as well as community engagement. The result of the review concluded that town is and was in a healthy financial position. The majority of the town's services are performing at or above standard according to the Strategy Corp methodology and comparator municipalities. The town is an organization that is focused on improving service delivery, and the town has a positive workplace culture and dedicated staff. The service delivery review identified 38 continuous improvement initiatives. Town staff reviewed each of the recommendations in the context of financial and staff resources and progressed with the implementation where it was practical and reasonable. With respect to the 38 improvement opportunities, there are 21 identified as service-driven, impacting the enterprise as a whole, as well as department-specific opportunities. And there were 17 continuous improvement opportunities that, if implemented, would enhance the town's reputation as a leading municipal organization in Ontario. The conclusion is that the town of Aurora has progressed with the implementation of the recommended service delivery review recommendations, with 24 of the 38 recommendations in progress or complete. And the town will continue to make efforts and review and progress with the remaining recommendations where practical and reasonable. Thank you. Thank you.
Should be. Be questions.
Yeah, I got a few too. I'll go and do one. I'm just interested in the strategy core and how what the process works, because I'm used to lean management evaluations where you're looking at value and effort and outcomes that are there. So I'm wondering what the process is that strategy core uses to identify the areas that they need to go into versus, and also what they're doing unique that will help you with the service delivery model.
You should get them this. Yeah, see.
No, no.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Weiss, so the project approach and methodology, so starting with the overall procurement, so the town of Aurora did issue a competitive procurement and strategy board was the selected vendor. It is a standard methodology that strategy board does follow, starting with research and current state assessments, like standard gap analysis. Unique to this request for services, its procurement, was that the town asked for a growth impact analysis, where we asked strategy board to project out population statistics based on growth regions population studies and determine the high as projected in a low population growth scenario, and then design their analysis around those three factors. Beyond that, there was a resident engagement component. So strategy core did go and launch a public engagement survey to get a pulse check of the town's service delivery, as well as the residents' experience with the town services. Approximately 100 responses were received from the surveys, and the residents overall reported positive experience with the town, as well as identified a few opportunities for improvement. And then, excuse me, I've lost my voice. It's a hot turn again, but 21. So then the opportunity development phase started for strategy corps. So about the 38 sort of opportunities were identified from all of that engagement. Just a little bit more detail with respect to the research. So they did do a comprehensive review of many town artifacts and documents, as well as interview council, all of ELT, all of CMT, create an inventory of key policies, documents, service levels, etc., as well as assess 2019 FIR data from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Okay, good. So if you've got a document that you can
Absolutely.
ship to me about the process, and I'll go through the reading, and if I have other questions, I can get back to you on it. So I appreciate the effort here. Thank you. Michael?
Thanks. So I do have the luxury of having the original product report. And one of the things that was identified in the report was that in achieving these initiatives, there would be some perceived savings, be it either financially beneficial or through what we call productivity savings, and or enable us to develop better benchmarks and KPIs. So while I appreciate the fact that you kind of tick the box in this update and said complete or in progress, you know, I'm actually looking for a little bit more of those details, like what was the true impact of these initiatives in terms of the organization, right? Like, you know, we estimated what we thought would be the financial benefit or the impact of the organization, some of these things, but now that we've completed it, can we close the loop and actually let me know what the true impact was? Was there a productivity savings? Was there, you know, some sort of way to quantify what the impact of the organization was at all? And I link back to, you know, the table that was within the original one that talked about the summary of potential financial benefits and investments. I get that it's not always, you know, a direct correlation, but there was productivity savings. So those are some of the things that I'm looking for. I mean, I just don't want to see the box has been checked. I want to know what the end result was. Did it actually, you know, achieve the intent, which was to create some sort of savings or efficiencies, or how was that impacted? And maybe it's not necessary for every single initiative individually, but maybe there can be a little bit of a summary about how this has helped move the town to the next level, some sort of further indication that, you know, carrying through with these initiatives has a tangible and positive impact on the organization that can be seen felt, however, right? So we know that, you know, this is all a worthwhile exercise.
Councillor Thompson, I'd be happy to review the initiatives and the proposed savings and work with the respective managers to try to quantify and then report back to the FAC with findings. Great.
No, that's good.
Sorry. Yeah, so, I think just in some of the tables that have been presented with regards to the service-driven opportunities, just number 10, I'm very much interested, which talks about reviewing the contracted services to ensure value for money and opportunities to improve service levels. When do you foresee reporting back on that? Initiative number 10.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd have to speak with operations and finance, and finance as well. I can report back to FAC at the next FAC with respect to some sort of timeline. But I'd have to check with the respective manager and director with respect to those services.
And this one is a bit more challenging, so as we're seeing costs escalate as well, so we're getting savings from that way. And then one of the things that's having a big impact on this is the benefits we're seeing from the financial system is changing the way we can do some of our procurement, so making that process smooth.
Number 16, deliver off-site wedding services. Just, I guess that sort of jumps out to me as, you know, as we go through the service delivery review, I guess I kind of myself look at it as, really drilling into the core functionality of the municipality, making sure that we're doing all of the key things right. This to me seems like a nice value added services. So I'm just wondering how we've identified this as a key one. Because I never thought of it as a big revenue generator either. So is this a big opportunity?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it was identified by the respective managers through the interviews as a potential opportunity with respect to the material impact. There's a quantifiable impact and there is a intangible impact that we can provide to the community as a service. So it has to be looked at from both aspects. So although materially or quantitatively the monetary value may not be high, there's a significant impact to the goodwill within our community to provide these types of services.
Yeah, I just look at the total list of initiatives, and there's many of them, and so I guess, you know, my question comes down to priorities. Some, in my opinion, I would put more time and resource, that's wise, you know, into driving those initiatives and ensuring their completion, as opposed to others, you know, that's just how I perceive it, right? So that's why I was just sort of raising that one as an interesting question, so. And then with regards to the last one, innovative practices, there really isn't much there. Now, you know, I've seen and heard for the most part, just talking about these ones, but are these just, I guess, ideas that at some point further discussion and thought is really around, like third spaces initiative, open streets initiatives? Yeah. But I can't really remember whether these are all council approved or these are just, you know, things that we'd like to explore and then come back and present it.
You, Mr. Chair. So the lens for the innovative opportunities, they were identified as sort of trend or upcoming in the near future as potential ideas to explore. Now, the town has already started to explore some of these topics. I believe digital services and digital payments is something that we're already exploring. Open data to some degree with some of the work that the PMO was carrying out. But yes, they were applied from the lens of what's happening in industry across the sector. And here's some potential opportunities that should look at exploring and determining whether or not there's additional investment or some potential to carry through.
Because One of the things that I've enjoyed when I've gone to commerce conferences such as FCF NAMO is they have a section, which really was awards quoted to it, where municipalities are awarded for a variety of things. But one is they always kind of highlight innovative initiatives that communities are doing. And for the most part, the ones that I've seen typically revolve around delivery of services, finding new and innovative ways. And so while these are all different initiatives, we're not necessarily looking at what we do and looking at new and innovative ways to deliver what we do, with the exception of visual services, which, yes, changing that practice. So I just always want us to make sure that we continue to look for new and innovative ways to do it, even if feel that something is tried and tested and true. It's good to continue to work on it, look at how that's just because how we do it and what we do. So otherwise, great. I mean, I love the fact that we continually look, through lean process and everything else we do. We can keep trying to strive for continuous improvement.
I was interested in the smart city investments, you've called it. So can you tell me what our investments have been in smart cities and what you're doing with the smart cities project or the practices there? It's in the exhibit 4, the innovative practices.
So that's,
You're in progress, so it's under review, I guess. No, it's in progress, so you're doing something on it.
so I have to, through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to smart cities, I have to get a little bit more detail from respect to Vandenberg, which is information technology.
Okay,
I just don't want to speak out of turn, because it's been I would say a few weeks because of all these.
Right.
Like more detailed update with respect to that line item. So I reach out to her first and then.
I just sense we're gonna have more interest in it coming soon, and when you talk about investments, it perks my interest. The other thing I had was on the slide that you had about what's completed and what's not completed. And I'm interested in the ones that are not actually, they're under review right now. Is it just an iterative process? You knock one off the list and you're moving to something else, or is this being done in a series or a parallel? I mean, do you have multiple departments working on this with the group? Just looking for process here.
So with respect to the 38 recommendations, so it is a collective effort from the entirety of the management group. And there's also an additional piece of context, although when we look at the SDR, it's sort of one set of recommendations, but at the same time that we were carrying out the SDR, there were a few other consultative reports that were also tabled with the town. So we've been concurrently working around a few of these types of reports and trying to progress with these recommendations as well as many others. With respect to the under review portion, that's something that status is determined within consult with the respective manager and determined based on the current operating dynamic within that business unit or that division, in light of whether or not it's feasible to accomplish the work or to progress with the work in the current in the current operating environment. If it's not, it's paused or it's considered under review. And it could be many different factors. It could be industry type factors, it could be budgetary constraints. So it really depends on the specific line item that we're addressing. And I'd be happy to provide additional detail if I'm provided with the line item. Sure. I can speak to that respective manager to see what the constraint exactly was.
Okay, and then getting back a little bit to what Councillor Thompson was talking about, an impact, we have 9 that are identified as being complete. So what's happening at the completion that we're hopefully affecting some kind of change, whether it be financial or otherwise? So out of those 9, are we do we have a report on those, or they're gonna come out in a bunch, or how are we going to learn this good work and what the delivery review is going to mean for us and mean for our residents in particular?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Ruiz, and Councilor Thompson. So, again, I would review the, respective completion and now report back to the FAC with respect to, some quantifiable, a reasonable quantifiable, aspect to the completion, as well as some of the intangible benefits that we are receiving in this work.
So I've not seen these. You haven't seen these yet, have you? Or, oh, okay, so that's where I'm going, is to see, and also the when. And you're going to roll these out in a package, or are we gonna get 38 all at once, or 35 all at once? How are we gonna see these and get these reports?
To you, Mr. Chair.
I don't know who that belongs to, actually, so.
With respect to the PMO, we do have oversight of the overall statuses of these initiatives. I'd be happy to provide the information whichever way Mr. Mayor and Councilor Thompson like we do incrementally as they're completed. But the first necessary step is actually to review and to come up with some complete some of the arithmetic behind recommendations. And I could provide a status update at the upcoming FAC with respect to our progress on the actual calculations before
Great.
I can deterministically say this is the benefit and this is
Sure.
where we are.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Just to add, so Ron, I think you'll see when you read the report, these initiatives were supposed to be done in 3 waves, short, medium, long term sort of
Right.
thing. And so I think what I'm saying is that, within the report, they were guesstimating the impact would be, and I just want to see if that value is realized or not. So I think that as we get this annual report back, progress of it, because this was supposed to include some of that information to validate that,
Mhm.
what we've done. Achieve what we hope to achieve. So, yeah, I haven't seen the end results. I just know that what's in the report said this should have this kind of impact for that. I just want to see the picture.
Motion to receive. Favor. Opposed, carries. Favor. Opposed. That carries.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.